The event industry is growing faster than ever. AI isn't just the future, it is now. In fact, it's reshaping how we plan, market, and deliver on our events at this specific moment. According to Allied Market Research, the global event industry is projected to hit 2.1 trillion by 2032, with annual growth of 13.5%. But here's the thing. Most small event business owners are still operating like it's 2019. In this episode, I'm breaking down the 5 biggest trends shaping the event industry in 2025, what that means for you, and how to apply them. Whether you're a planner, caterer, venue owner, or creative, we're going to connect the dots on how your back end systems play a huge role in actually profiting from these shifts. For the past 5 years, since COVID-19 and the pandemic, the event industry has been on a constant shift and change, from micro weddings to more elaborate special events. There's been a lot of changes that's been occurring. It has been great for those of you that have been adaptable and keeping an eye out on the trends that are occurring. In fact, I feel that the word pivot was used in high volumes during that time period, including I feel like some people are having to do that in this specific season. It's great to pivot, it's great to be able to adapt, but it's even more important for you to understand why you want to be ahead of the curve when you are able to do that. Because when you understand the trends, it really helps you to make smarter business decisions inside of your business, from financial forecasting to pricing to the right types of collaborations, as well as what types of offers you may need to start doing inside of your business. In fact, I am really excited about a lot of the changes that are occurring because it's even allowing for me, with 15 years of experience in the industry, to look at what I'm currently doing and what I can actually do with where things are going. Because if I am able to beat my competition by being proactive, it will really help me with being able to solidify our presence and our market share with what we offer. So my intention in this episode is really for 2025 to end on a solid note for you to look at what's happening in 2026 and beyond. It's all about being proactive, not reactive. Trends only benefit you when you are prepared to act on them. So the first trend that we're going to be digging into is how AI is in the event industry and how it's going to help you from everything from your day to day, but also in the production of your business. So AI is officially moving from being a buzzword to being baked into the daily workflow of event pros like yourself. According to the Event MB's 2024 Future of Events reports, over 65% of planners are already experimenting with AI and new technology, but only 18% have actually integrated it into their production workflows, and that's about to change. In fact, you're starting to see a good amount of platforms starting to implement AI as a additional feature that is inside of their platforms. You can look at tools like Tag Venue Pro, which is in the UK, Honeybook with AI, and in ChatGPT integrations, which are very common on most CRM platforms at this moment. In fact, Zapier, which allows different platforms to communicate with each other, it even has AI inside of it. Ultimately, by implementing AI in how you're executing your services, it's really going to allow for you to help your teams with communicating, or most importantly, automate certain types of communication so that you're able to be more efficient and reduce potential mistakes. In addition, you'll see that AI will help you with doing everything from proposal writing for those of you that actively are writing for your day-to-day clients, but I do also know a good amount of you are in event contracts for the government. So you can use AI for proposal writing as well as brainstorming for creativity. So AI doesn't have to just be going into ChatGPT and typing, act like a social media marketer and help me with creating my social media calendar. That's the smallest thing that you can actually be using AI for. And I know it feels as if it's this big, and don't get me wrong, I feel like there's a lot of uproar around AI, and it's not intended to take away the focus from the human aspect of your business. In fact, it's not to even replace the human touch. It's really to free your time so you can focus on the high level strategy and client connection that you're needing to do. Or for those of you that have specific types of services, just you executing your services. Earlier today, I was having lunch with a person that does grant writing, and we were having a really great conversation about how she can even use AI to help with doing some of the research and the back end heavy work that takes days and weeks to be able to complete, and using AI efficiently as well as the tools that she can use. So AI is going to help you with being able to execute your services and cut down on the time. So, for those of you that are in the nonprofit sector and you help with doing sponsorships, or you may be an organizer and you have to look for sponsorships, you can use AI to help you with doing that if you learn how to do it correctly. And prompting is really the most challenging part of doing AI, is learning how to create prompts and have the system communicate correctly to you or give you the correct outputs. The things that really take you a little bit longer outside of you actually executing your services. So you can start thinking about some smart and innovative ways to implement AI into your business. And just remember, AI cannot replace your creativity, your emotional intelligence, or your adaptability. It's just a tool that's intended to help with supporting you. And depending on how long you've been in business and also your age and demographic, that may be putting a little bit of a hesitation into actually implementing AI inside of your business. And I get that wholeheartedly. I always recommend to just do some bite-sized pieces without overwhelming yourself. And the thing about AI, if you learn how to prompt it accordingly, it will not take away the authenticity that you're wanting inside of your business. With platforms like HoneyBook or other CRMs that are integrating AI into the functionality and the workflows, it's not intended to make people feel as if you're have this robot company. It's not that. It's important for you to understand the functionalities that each platform has, and then you create the workflows around it. You prompt the automations, you prompt the technology, because you are the leader inside of your business. That's how you keep it authentic. It comes down to how you are going to implement it inside of your company. So, one of the things I do recommend is start small. Think about how you can implement AI into one small area inside of your business. It can be helping you with writing emails or newsletters. I will tell you, I am not the strongest when it comes to writing newsletters. I am not an email marketing pro. However, I do have a prompt that I was able to flush through and write out really well so that ChatGPT helps me with writing my newsletters. And that saves me time compared to me taking several hours to write an email, because I'm like, does this sound stupid? How do I make it sound quirky? How do I use the specific words? All I have to do is input what the newsletter is about, what is the call to action, what's the takeaways, and then boom, it knows my voice. It understands the intention of the platform and my target audience, and it writes out the email perfectly. It gives me a great starting point. Often I try to make some adjustments to the email so that I can put a little bit more of my personal touch, but it only takes me a few minutes compared to a few hours like it did before. So the main lesson that you want to get about AI is that don't try to learn AI all at once. Do not overwhelm yourself and spend hours on YouTube trying to figure out all the prompts. Pick a single workflow and optimize it. Momentum beats mastery. You will get better with using AI as you continue to embrace it. It doesn't just happen overnight. It will happen in time, but do not avoid it. The second trend is how hybrid events have reached its maturity. Hybrid events are no longer just seen as this shiny new thing because we had to adapt during the pandemic. In fact, it's now a very strategic tool that conferences and educational events have learned to embrace and maximize. So instead of creating a digital twin of your event, 2025 is about creating digital extensions to add long term value. In 2020, hybrid and virtual events really had its big insurgence due to people having to adapt to the fact that we were having to be isolated. So we did see a dip in hybrid events a little bit after the pandemic was over, per se. But now that we've gotten over the initial buzz of it all, people that have learned to master hybrid events effectively so that companies can get amazing ROIs, they are winning in the industry right now. I've seen where an event might be happening in person and they have like a three-tier process where you can go fully in person or fully online or a mixture of a few in person with a online access. And by understanding it's no longer just having this Zoom experience, because if it's just boring where people are supposed to watch, that is not going to get the results that a company is going to need. So now that people have embraced the fact that we can do and meet people online now instead of just always relying on in person, it's hit this maturity level where we're no longer just adapting, but we're learning how to master and elevate each and every time. So moving forward into 2026, hybrid events is here to stay. And it comes down to if you're going to offer this inside of your business, depending on what you do and how you service your clients. So it's one of those passive income streams that can be an add-on service for certain types of businesses. So if you might be an event organizer, or you might be someone that specifically works with nonprofits, people are looking for solutions. You're finding that building community through event apps and exclusive digital experiences are the way to go for corporations. So if you're someone that is in the corporate space, this might be you aligning with companies that are servicing them, maybe virtually only, and offering your services to do some of the hybrid in person aspects of it. Or maybe you might be someone that is really creative and you like to do event design. You can be a resource to a corporate event planning company. When you get into hybrid or certain aspects of corporate, you have everything from smaller businesses to large corporations that fall underneath that umbrella. If you are wanting to go into some of the larger companies, I highly recommend collaborating with businesses instead of you burning yourself out trying to do it all yourself. This is where you have yourself as an expert and you're a great resource. A way that people are integrating hybrid events is, for example, hosting a conference. And then what they're doing is they're turning that conference into a 365-day learning hub with membership style access. So, yes, it was great to have you here for this event, but then with your ticket, you get access to this hub. And then there's these additional layers. This is something that, again, is great for not only large companies, but for small companies. So for those of you that are really wanting to get into this educational and conference space, I think that this is a really great avenue for you to go into. So it allows for an amazing business model and it allows for you to expand the services that you already have. Now, if you're someone that has no experience in it, it might be good to work as an intern or to work part-time for a company to see if this is something you want to do. But there is a lot of opportunity inside of this. 68% of organizations are now using hybrid formats selectively. And I saw that on a online and I thought that would be a really great statistic for you to see. Because It's important to know that attendees expect digital access, options for flexibility and follow-up learning for specific types of conferences or educational events. Don't go hybrid out of fear, go hybrid for purpose. If this is a niche that you want to be able to specialize in, I highly recommend you start doing the research to find how you can start carving your lane inside of this industry. The next trend that is super big when it comes to corporate is all about data-driven and outcome-focused design. It's all about those results. Gone are the days when event success was measured by decor and attendance numbers. In 2025, attendees and clients are demanding measurable ROIs and return on objectives. So, if you're someone that's just highly relying on things being pretty, people want to make sure that they're putting their money into companies and events that are going to help them with whatever their focus is with that specific event. And it's heavy on the ROI. And people are getting out of that, oh, did the photos just look like it was a lot of fun? They're really trying to focus on what impact did this event make on our business goals? And companies are using platforms and tools like Bizabo and Cvent to get post-event analytics. They want to know what the engagement rates were, how did things go with their sponsors, as well as the conversion metrics. So this is important for you to know, especially for those of you that are wanting to get into the corporate vein. It's not just about the pretty. It's going to be about how you are going to use your service to help that client with getting the result that they're truly desiring to get. So being aware of what that goal is and being aware how your skill set aligns with it. So event owners can use surveys, QR polls, and post-event email data for future planning and help with getting guidance on the direction that things need to go. For those of you that are really wanting to explore the corporate vein, what I do recommend now more than ever is to start looking for associations in your area that specifically deals with meeting planners and the corporate planning aspect so that you are aware of what are some of the trends that are occurring in that industry. But most importantly, it will allow for you to start collaborating and partnering up with others that have brands or businesses that are in that vein. You're finding that larger companies are going with agencies that are going to be data driven and are going to get them the results that they're looking for. You're seeing this even when it comes to affiliates or influencer marketing. During the pandemic, when everyone was just like, oh, we're just going to pay this influencer because they have 100,000 subscribers. They don't care about that. You can have all these subscribers, but if it's not going to produce a result this day and age, it doesn't matter if you are doing influencer marketing, influencer events, brand activations, if you're doing conferences, whatever you're doing, if you're not aware of how to get them those results, this is why it's going to be important for you to work with others to learn how to do so, or being on a team and using your strength to add value to that team so that they're able to get those results. So this conversation is really going to be for those of you that are not in special events, because with special events, you really don't have like that huge ROI component, but everything else really does. So before you start feeling the pressure from your clients or your potential clients, just do the research. Understand what are the return on investments that they're looking for so that you can start to leverage your packages to solve those problems. I always say on my channel, either on Green Eyed Ambition on this podcast, you have to know what problem you're solving for your client because it will help you with understanding what types of packages you need to put together so that you're able to attract more of those clients and most importantly, charge premium pricing because you are the expert that I know that you are. So the main lesson that you need to gather from this is learn how to measure what matters, be it engagement, retention, conversion, or client satisfaction. Understanding data, it proves your value and allows for you to sell to book your next event. The next trend that we're starting to see is all about sustainable and purpose driven events. Sustainability has moved from optional to essential for specific types of services and different regions of the world, because attendees do expect to have more eco-conscious decisions and offerings at events. And it's important to learn how to be able to present those with more transparency. Sustainability will not be important for each and every client, but for some, it really will. So it's important to understanding the client in which you're serving, knowing how important this is for them so that you have the resources available to be able to source for their needs. So sustainability is really about brand positioning right now. It's not just about the logistics of it all. It's about having brands that are aligned with preserving the environment. So there's some low cost ways that you can start to look at this, from having paperless check-in to reusable materials and also sourcing locally. And you have probably heard of those three, but you may not have known that those are sustainable options that you can have inside of your event. In fact, I've seen where some concert halls charge people if they want to have their ticket printed at the location. So this paperless check-in is something that is becoming popular in entertainment events as well as conferences and other types of gatherings or corporate gatherings. And if this is something that you're really passionate about, I say go all in. It can be a great way to story tell about your brand and why this is actually important. I always share why it's important to have clarity on your niche and making sure that people know that this is what you stand for. So if you are someone that's extremely passionate about sustainability, I say this is something that you can market to. You have to know what companies actually find that valuable. So yes, Jesse's saying you can lean into sustainability, but you also want to make sure that you know how to attract those type of clients, because you don't want to niche down so much that you aren't able to get new clients. And the thing about it too is that if that's not what you want to do full time, this is the perfect time to collaborate with other like-minded vendors that have a eco credibility or eco-friendly structure, so that you don't have to be the main person that's doing it. It's because you have a brand that you collaborate with that allows for you to still service clients that do find that valuable without actually taking you out of the market to work with people that don't necessarily value that. But at the core of it, it has to come down to what's the purpose of your business? What is fueling it? Having a mission statement, having a vision statement, there has to be clarity. And I don't want to say has to, it's best to have clarity, because when you don't have that clarity, you'll find yourself doing events and bookings that just really are not what your business wants to do or where the direction you want to actually head. I saw a really cool statistic that said that Gen Z and millennial attendees say purpose driven brands are 2 times more likely to earn their loyalty than companies that do not have a purpose. So, depending on what type of clients and the age brackets you're normally attracting, it's important to know this so that if you need to make a little bit of a pivot in your messaging, that your messaging is going to still attract or even further confirm to your clients or your potential clients why they should work with you. So the main lesson to gather from this trend is to know that sustainability isn't just about the planet, it's about positioning your business for long-term relevance. So making sure people understand why you do what you do, who you serve, and why it's actually important. The fifth trend is all about experiencing personalization through tech. So in 2025, personalization is a new standard when it comes to offering services in the event industry. So whether it's doing customized itineraries or tailored sponsor offerings, event tech allows for a hyper-specific attendee journey for those of you that are in the corporate vein. So this is important for you to know because technology, as I mentioned earlier, isn't just how AI is impacting the event industry. You're starting to see 3D printers, You're starting to see really cool holograms and technology when it comes to displays that really allow for you to create these immersive experiences if that's something that's important to your clients. The biggest thing to remember when you are going to have personalization is that you want to make sure that the back end is streamlined and using CRMs or apps that allow for you to rinse and repeat at least the back end part so that you're able to have your bookings go as seamless as possible. And looking at ways that you are able to have some form of personalization without having to reinvent the wheel each and every time. That's the part that sometimes is the Achilles heel for event industry professionals is always reinventing the wheel. So this is why it's super important to think to yourself, how do we have personalization without wrecking our processes each and every time? So I recommend looking at your current SOPs. If you don't have your standard operating procedures now, this is the sign now to start thinking about creating them. So you understand the client journey and experience you want for each and every customer that's working with you so that you still have the ability to make them feel special and giving them this a personalized approach. So you're starting to see ways that you can implement having personalization is using apps that allow for you to send live updates about specific details of an event. For those of you in the corporate vein, there's a lot of really cool options when it comes to having personalized messages go to people by using specific types of apps so that you're able to keep communication clear for attendees. So the main lesson that you want to get from personalization and the direction that it's going is that you want to be able to think, how do you personalize with elevating your client experience without destroying your company process? Personalization does not have to be chaotic when you have the right structure in place. And depending on the industry you're in, there's a bunch of other trends that are out there in the marketplace. So I try to just go over the top 5 that I thought you may find impactful to know moving forward. And so out of the trends I just shared, what trend do you think will impact the event industry the most in 2026 and beyond? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's start a discussion. The future of the event industry doesn't belong to the biggest company. It belongs to the most adaptable companies that are staying ahead of the curve. So if you're ready to stop playing catch up and start leading with systems inside of your business that allows for you to sell and scale, join my next 3-day challenge, and the link is in the description. As always, on this podcast, the whole goal is to be able to have conversations that are geared towards understanding how to run a business in the event industry. And remember that adaptability is your superpower. Into the next episode, talk to you later.